Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad that you're here today because we are going to get into something that I think a lot of us have felt, but maybe haven't known exactly how to name it or what to do with it. Have you ever looked at your business, like your name, your niche, your brand, and just felt like it didn't quite fit anymore? Like you've grown past it, or maybe it never quite fit exactly right to begin with? That feeling is so real. And today we're going to talk about what to do with that. We're talking about rebranding, like how to know when it's time, how to tell the difference between a real signal or just a distraction, and what to do before you make any moves. I've got 5 signs to walk you through, plus some honest discernment questions that I think are really going to be helpful. And I have a little something to share at the end, a teaser, if you will. So let's get after it. Truth time. When's the last time you raised your hands for a swift kick in the pants? Well, I'm the no-nonsense type friend who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth. So let's get right to it. This is your infusion of sacred and secular, calling you higher into who God created you to be, exploring how intimately faith applies to every part of your life, and how you can live that faith every single day in the marketplace. I felt the tension of separation of church and state. I've been one of the few women at a table of men for decades, and I've stood my ground. Are you ready to do the same? These tools, resources, and interviews are meant to do just that. I'm Jan Touchberry, and it's time to share her faith at work. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about what a rebrand actually is, because I think sometimes it can get overcomplicated. A rebrand is not always blowing everything up and starting from scratch, although sometimes it is, right? Sometimes it's big, like a whole new name, a new niche, a new direction. But sometimes it's smaller. Updated messaging, a shift in who you're talking to, a visual refresh. It can be one piece or it can be all of it, okay? What it is not, and this is really important, I'm going to say this really as clearly as I possibly can. It's not a reaction to a bad week. It's not a reaction to a slow month or one person's offhand comment. We are not rebranding because someone in a Facebook group said your logo looked dated, okay? Okay. The real question is, does your brand accurately represent what you do and who you serve right now? Not 3 years ago, like not who you hoped you would serve when you started, but right now in this season. So we're going to look at 5 signs that something might need to change, okay? Sign number 1, you're attracting the wrong people or you're attracting nobody. Your brand is doing the talking before you ever open your mouth, before somebody books a call, before they get on your email list, before they even read your about page, okay? Your brand has already made an impression. If the people finding you aren't the people you want to work with, your brand is sending the wrong signal. I need you to take an honest look at who's actually in your world, who is emailing you, who's signing up for your freebies, who's reaching out about working together. If it is consistently not your person, that is important information, okay? Sign number 2, you have outgrown your original positioning. This one is really common, and I don't think we talk about it enough, actually. When you started your business, you picked a name, you picked a niche, you picked a lane that you were going to run in, right? And that was right for where you were at the time. But businesses grow. You grow. And sometimes the lane that you picked is too small now, or it's shifted a little bit, or it's just not quite right anymore, okay? If you feel like you're shrinking yourself to stay inside your original brand box, that is worth paying attention to. Growth isn't betraying your past self. It's honoring how far you've come and what God is trying to grow you into in this new season, okay? Sign number 3. Your brand no longer reflects what you actually do. Preaching to the choir on this one. It can sneak up on you, okay? Especially if you've added services or changed your approach or clarified who you help. You might have started as a general VA, okay? But now you specialize in podcast management or something like that. You might have started in one industry and you've pivoted to another. If somebody lands on your website and walks away confused about what you do, that is a brand problem, friend, not a communication problem. Clarity is kindness to your future clients, and honestly, it's kindness to yourself. Sign number 4, you feel embarrassed or hesitant to share your stuff. This one, I feel like gets underrated, okay? I want you to think about the last time somebody asked you what you do, or the last time you sent someone to your website. How did you feel? Were you proud and excited, or did you feel a little meh? If you're dragging your feet on sharing your own work, that is a sign. You should really feel good about what you've built. And if the packaging, the name, the messaging, the look, if that doesn't match the quality of what's on the inside, something has got to change. All right, sign number 5. There's a persistent spirit-led restlessness. Some would call it a holy discontent. This is a big one. And I want to be careful here because this is different from shiny object syndrome, which so many entrepreneurs have. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But this is a kind of restlessness that's deep in your bones, right? It's the kind that doesn't go away when life gets busy. It follows you into the prayer closet. It shows up in your quiet time. You'll be in the middle of something completely unrelated and it'll tap you on the shoulder again. That is not anxiety. That might be direction. And this is really important, okay? How do you tell the difference between a real signal that it's time to go into a new direction and maybe rebrand, or just distraction dressed up in a pretty new logo? Because creatives can get bogged down in the pretty. Here are the questions that I would ask yourself. All right. First, has this feeling been consistent for more than 3 months? If it's been 3 weeks, maybe sit with it just a little bit longer, okay? Can you articulate specifically why the current brand isn't working? Like with actual examples, not just a feeling that you have. Okay, next, have you prayed about it? Super important. Have you prayed about it and gotten peace in a direction, or do you keep waffling back and forth? Next question, what do the people that are closest to you and closest to your business think? Like your mentor, if you're in a mastermind, maybe your mastermind friends, people who love you enough to be honest with you. And like the $1 million person to ask is someone who is your ideal client. What do they think? And then maybe most importantly, are you running towards something or are you running away from something? Because running away from discomfort is not a rebrand strategy. But running toward a clearer, truer version of what you've been building, that, friend, that can be wisdom. Okay, so let's say you've done the work, you've sat with it, you've prayed about it, and yes, you think it's time. Here's what I want you to do before you decide to blow anything up, okay? First, get crystal clear on who you serve and what you do. Can you say it in one sentence without stumbling? If not, do that work first. Before you pick a new name, before you redesign anything, go back through your ideal client avatar worksheets, okay? If you don't have an ideal client worksheet, you can pick one up on my website for free. It's jantouchberry.com/ICA, like icicle, cat, apple. jantouchberry.com/ICA. I'll also drop that link in the show notes for you, okay? Number 2, look at your data. I feel like I have to say it like that because I feel like I need to slap some hands for people who don't like looking at their data. Who is actually finding you right now? Who converts? Who do you love working with? Let the data confirm or challenge what you're feeling, okay? I know that it's hard to look at data for some people, but you guys, if you're not looking at what is actually working, how on earth can you tell if you need to pivot? Number 3, identify what's working. A rebrand isn't always demolition, right? A lot of times, it's just small refinements. So don't throw away what's good. See how it works into what you're going to next. Okay, number 4, for the love, give it a deadline. sitting in the I think I should rebrand mode for a whole year, that is not a strategy. At some point, you have just got to decide, and then you've got to make a decision, give yourself a timeline to execute, and pull the dang trigger. Okay? And then last but not least, number 5, do it with intention and not impulse. A new name, new messaging, new visuals, these all need to work together. Synergy. Take the time to get it right rather than rushing and having to redo it in 6 months or figuring out that one piece of it is off and having to go through the whole process again, okay? Are you getting it? Are you understanding? Not always a huge demolition, although sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be just rebranding one piece. And now for the big reveal. I have been going through this exact process with this podcast. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you know that Her Faith at Work has always been, from the very beginning, over 2 years ago, about helping you build your business anchored in faith. That has not changed. That is the foundation. It will never change. I believe in it more now than I ever have. But I have felt that persistent nudge that I was talking about for a little while now. The kind that I just described. The one that doesn't go away. And I've been doing the work in the background, the prayer, the research, the honest conversations with people that I trust. And so a rebrand is coming, friends. A change to this podcast that I think is going to make it even more clear, even more findable, searchable, if you will, and even more aligned with where this whole thing is going. I'm actually really excited about it. I'm not quite ready to share all the details. However, I wanted you to hear about it first because you are my people. I promise there's going to be an episode walking you through my exact process coming soon, but I wanted to kind of share the why behind all of this because if you are in the middle of your own version of this right now, I want you to know you're not crazy because sometimes it can feel like you're a little crazy. You're not starting over. You're just stepping into the next thing that God has for you and your business. And that is okay, friend. It's okay. So more coming soon. If you guys want more sneak peeks and possibly to vote on the new podcast art, things like that, make sure you're on my email list, jantouchberry.com/newsletter. Dropping lots of links for y'all. jantouchberry.com/newsletter. There's going to be some sneak peeks of podcast art coming over the next week or so. And I just want to thank you so much for listening today. If this episode hit home, if you know somebody who's, wrestling with the rebrand concept, share it with a friend. Maybe share it with somebody who's been feeling the same little nudge. And then in preparation for the podcast rebrand, could I ask a huge favor of you, okay? If you haven't already left me a review, would you just take a minute and do that? On Spotify, it's literally just a rating. You click the number of stars that you want to give and you're done. On Apple, you can actually leave a review. And both of those, no matter which platform you listen on, both of those would mean the world to me because it genuinely helps this show get found by women who need it most. And it will rev the proverbial engine, so to speak, for the launch of the new branding. So if you have time, I would really appreciate it if you do that. And that's all I got for you today. See you next time.
Thanks for joining me for another episode of Her Faith at Work. If the Lord put someone on your heart that you think needs to hear this message today, will you just smash that share button? And if you haven't already followed the show, I would love for you to do that. Super extra points if you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps the algorithm pick us up and drop us right in the AirPods of people that need to hear what the Lord is saying to them today. I hope you'll come back for the next episode of Her Faith at Work. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And if you look down in the show notes, I've even got a couple of free downloads for you that I think you will really enjoy. With that, have a great week. See you next time.